Hey, everybody. It is me, Bob, and we're back with Bob Saget's Here For You. I actually had to look. I had to look at the title of the show because I have some, educational issues. There's a lot I want to talk about in this episode because this is an unusual time in life, and it's fascinating that I have so much time in this bunker that I'm able to do so many episodes. So the stuff I wanted to talk about in this episode it goes all over the place. It's from, don't have sex with an armadillo because you could become roadkill, that kind of thing. These are notes I've written down. I want to talk about Tony Fauci, who's kind of a genius, and I got to meet him years ago, and he is hopefully, and I believe, going to get to the bottom of this coronavirus in the United States. I want to talk about Flat Stanley, not related at all to Tony Fauci. Flat Stanley is this thing that made a paper. I don't know. Jimmy Carr, famous British comedian, and probably a couple of penis references, just because, hey, got to please everybody. I had some calls that I want to make, which is really fun because there's a number that's listed right there, right up here. You can see it right there, right before you clicked, and it's right here, and it tells you to call this number, leave a message, what you want to talk about with me, and I can call you. I will put it on Twitter and Instagram when I'm going to call you, and we'll be setting that up from time to time. I'm also going to have some special guests soon, all named John, because as I say, sometimes in my daily life, I am a pimp. Dungeons and Dragons, which people call D&D, which I don't understand, which means do not disturb, and I wouldn't disturb anybody that's doing that. I had a dog named Alan, King Charles Spaniel. He passed away from prostate cancer, so that's going to be great for a few laughs, but I loved him very much. So this is going to be a mixed bag. I have a mixed bag, and I'm not going to go into it, but I take it out Christmas time. There's a lot going on right now, and it's pretty serious. One of the worst things that ever happened to me was that I'm allergic to cats, and I have a story I'd like to discuss about a cat making diarrhea on me through a screen door. So, and that's all meant for all ages. It's really, diarrhea has no age limit. And, just talking about how did we get here and why are we like this? The Tower of Babel. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's when humans separated, and they've kind of stayed that way ever since. And why are people like this? Why can't we all just realize that we're human beings? And maybe this pandemic can bring people together, and then I'll get into it. Is that even possible? And 5 minutes later, do people forget once it's cured or vaccinated, or we find a solution? Can people care about each other more and not get 500 rolls of toilet paper? Because how big is your asshole? I mean, how much do you need it? Are you making paper mache in your spare time? That's my question. This intro is kind of all over the place, so let's do it professionally and play some music that I actually put together. It's real simple stuff, but it'll be a more professional intro. Let's hit that right now. So much has been going on. So many people are going through a hard time. I just wish everybody well right now. That's the main thing, is to be safe. And I have found out that I'm into this social distancing thing. So when this is all gone, and we can't wait for that, right? And it's not even a trace of it, and we end up with with an antidote and a vaccine and stuff like that, I'm going to keep living this way. I think Howie Mandel was a prophet. He was a pioneer. You do the fist bump. You do it like, it's like two cloven hooves just doing that. Now you don't do that, but he started it. So I think he is kind of a disciple of what was to come. And germphobic, I played Danny Tanner on that show. I can't believe I said that word. Danny Tanner's like a curse word to me. But playing that on that Full House show and that Fuller House show and then the Fullest House show, which will probably never be made, but it may be underwater. We don't know what's going to happen to the planet because we're melting. But that's why I wanted to say, hey, I'm here for you. If you need help, if I'm like Baywatch, I'll run into the ocean and I will save you. I won't touch you. I won't let you breathe on me. I'm going to go in there with, all kind of hand sanitizer in the ocean with wet naps, which I took last night. I took a wet nap. It was about 20 minutes. A power wet nap is pretty awesome. You just got to change the sheets. Make sure you change the sheets, by the way, because that could have infection. And you don't want to get that because once it spreads from your unit up to your abdomen, then you got a whole chest plate covered in some kind of rash. Speaking of rash, we've all been going through, that's called a non-segue. I don't mean to make light of this whole thing, but that's what, kind of I feel is, well, it's how I deal with it. And there's been a lot of jokes about the beer, a lot of jokes about, just inappropriate. Is it too soon? But it is how comedians deal with it. And I am part comedian. You know which part it is. Down low, below the belt. But I have been losing weight during this thing because I'm afraid to eat food that people brought me. So I've been eating just things I find in the yard, just birds and rocks, stuff like that. I've been drinking from the pool. I'm like a dog. But my wife and I have been just hanging out, watching all the things that we never thought we'd binge. It was like, I don't know if I'm going to watch that. Next thing you know, we just binged, and we're not stopping. I'm gonna binge, Nickelodeon at night shows, Disney Channel. No, I'm not gonna do that because I'm a grown up. Damn it, we're gonna watch all end of the world movies. That's all we're gonna watch. Contagion, Outbreak, and I just touched my face. By the way, no one should touch my face. You can't go bowling. You can't put your fingers in a bowling ball. You know what's inside those holes. By the way, I would say don't put your fingers in any holes. If you think about it, a light socket, well, you can't put your fingers in there unless you got thin little things that you would use to label folders with. That's a bad analogy. Or a stimulent. I don't know if you know what that is. That's a thing you clean your teeth with. My dad used to give them out to people. He'd buy a case of them, and that was his generous gift to my friends. My buddies would come over, a lot of comedians, and my dad would just give you a stimulant package, and that's what you use to get in between your teeth and massage your gums. It's like, gee, thanks, Dad. It would have been nice to get a Mont Blanc. Anyway, he lived to 89. He would be pretty vulnerable right now because he was very vulnerable. He would cry in a corner naked. He, as I've said before in my stand-up, he looked like Smeagol. Speaking of stand-up, I have had to go and cancel so many dates, which is as it should be. I mean, this is how we deal with this kind of stuff, and I don't want to put anybody at risk, and that's why I'm wearing a full body condom. Oh no, you can see I'm not. Oh right, I'm on the YouTube. Well, darn it, couldn't fool you. But I'm wearing a cloak. I have a invisible mist, and then like in Bloomingdale's, I kind of walk into it. I spray, then I walk into it, and it just totally varnishes me all day and protects me. Order again. You go and order in. You think everything's going to be fine. You don't know. The guy could have sneezed on your pizza. But I don't. You got to trust, and you got to also be brave, and yet you got to be. You got to follow the rules. There's this Tony Fauci. I met him once because I love to name drop even major scientists, and he was one of the pioneers of helping cure HIV when it first was indestructible. And of course, there's been resurgences. But I met this man because my sister had a disease called scleroderma, which is hardening of the skin. And a lot of people have it, hundreds of thousands of people, and I'm on the board of directors of the Scleroderma Research Foundation, srfcure.org. There you go. It's okay to give websites if you're not, plugging merch, if you're doing something that helps people. And people that have this disease or any pulmonary disease are at risk when there's something out in the air. That or not out in the air, something that you can be breathed upon and have a lungy problem. I knew a girl with a lungy problem, and I was the problem. But the issue is here, this guy, Tony Fauci, I met him, and it was 20 years ago. And he's like in his late 70s. It's unbelievable. He is such a genius. And I remember, this is what I remember. This is a narcissist comedian. There was a thing called Women in Lunch 2000, and Hillary Clinton supported it. This is way before Lock Her Up or, cigar in your mouth. And it was a different person, pretty much, I believe. And I was there with this lady, Sharon Monsky, who had scleroderma. You can die from this disease if it goes into your lungs, pulmonary hypertension. I know this is a real cheer-up podcast. Let me just get your thoughts off onto pleasant things. But I was just going to say, I was just excited because I sat next to him for 2 hours at lunch, and I just made him laugh the whole time. And that's what I should be doing right now. But the point of it is, he was a remarkable man, and my God, he looks exactly the same. Some people tell me I do, but we know they're wrong. I'm just happy to kind of be able to talk to you guys because I know you listen to 1 million podcasts. 1 million, that's a lot. You would have no time to sleep. And you need your sleep right now, by the way. But I kind of have always had a mind to do this kind of thing and decided to do this. And then all of a sudden craziness sets in, and I feel like it's like the Blues Brothers when they knock on the door. Millennials, Gen X, I apologize. I don't mean the first thing to profile you by saying that, but I'm 63, so you do things like that. But I don't feel like that. People call me a dad because they grew up with me or whatever. But, or people, I don't know what they do. They think of me as a dirty guy. But the whole point is I've been around and entertained you guys, I hope, for, 35 years, something like that, maybe 40. I started doing stand-up when I was 17. And the whole point is people got to forget about their troubles, but they also have to be vigilant. So I think what you do is you just you take it easy, you drink some wine, and you get a sword and you chop shit up. You just chop it up. Doesn't matter what it is. Go out in your yard, just chop. No, that's a bad suggestion. Don't have a sword. If you have a sword, it's because it was handed down or you got it. Maybe you were on a trip. Be with the people that you love right now, even if you don't love them. No, you got to be honest is the whole key. So I wanted to come out of the gate on this particular episode and just talk about honesty and talk about connection with people, because we're at a time now where you're not supposed to be in proximity of people, and yet you want to be connected to them. And I want to be connected to people, and I don't mean like a daisy chain. I don't mean like, what was that movie, the horrible thing where everybody was connected?
Human Centipede.
Yeah, the Human Centipede. Thank you so much. And of course, it would be a lovely lady telling me the name of that movie. The Human Centipede. Now, that's not what you want. That's the worst thing you could do right now, is form a daisy-chained human centipede type of thing. Now, if, again, anybody that doesn't know what that is, keep it that way. Please don't Google it. Don't look it up. But it was on South Park, so that makes it real. I used to have a joke. I read that men can breastfeed. And then I wrote it down and then I read it. And we're kind of at that place in our world where anybody can say anything they want. You can write something down and just say that it's fact because you read it, and here it is right here in print. And when South Park first started, they would do a split screen, and they would have, here we go, the Nobel Prize winning laureate genius of the world that cured blankety blank, which is that's when you curse and can't stop. And then in the split screen is another guy who has 3 followers on Twitter. And that's where we're at, which means everybody deserves a voice, but sometimes the balance is just a wee bit off. But we do need some voices of reason, and I think they're out there. I think, and my purpose here is just to be your fluffer, just to give you some entertaining stuff to hear, just to be your pal, be your dad. I don't want to be your dad. It's kind of weird, right? I mean, I could be your dad. I mean, I know your mom. This is called dead air after a comment like that. That's dead air. Dead air is what you hear on radio when people don't talk because nobody knew what to say, or something that was said was so wrong and nobody hit the button. That was in the old days of free radio, and now this is, I could say whatever the fuck I want, but I don't want to talk like that arbitrarily, and I don't use the F word as a verb. I was really, effing that person, that animal, that goat, that armadillo. I will say that if you used an armadillo for sexual favors, it could also be protection against getting someone pregnant if you're a dude, because no one is going to have sex with you if you got an armadillo on your dick. That's what I'm saying. And it's hard-shelled. So also be careful if you decide to do it because you're like hitchhiking. And I'm talking to you guys out there that are hitchhiking right now and maybe listening to this with your little earbuds in, and then all of a sudden you see an armadillo and nobody's around, and you go, you know what? I think I'm going to go for this because I can wrestle that thing. And next thing you know, you end up with rabies and a car hits you, because armadillos are known to be roadkill. So I would say don't put anything on your wiener that's possibly going to be hit by a car, because it's going to take you with it, and you'll both be dead. And think about how that looks on a police photo. Two flattened out, Flat Stanley people. If you don't know Flat Stanley, that's a whole other story. I never understood it. You have a cardboard cutout. This is how quickly I wanted to get away from having sex with an armadillo and getting hit by a car and flattened out. But Flat Stanley is this paper doll type thing that people say, hey, take this with you all over the world, Flat Stanley. And so I was like, what? And they said, yeah, please hold my Flat Stanley, take a picture. I want to post it on my Instagram. And I'm like, well, why? And because I want to. And then I look at different comedians and they actually employ it. Jimmy Carr's a friend of mine. He's a famous British comedian. And he just takes some weird, it's not a Flat Stanley, but it's like a weird simulation of himself in kind of a odd, warped Muppet form, and takes pictures of himself next to the Eiffel Tower, wherever he goes. I thought of doing that at one time, and this is going to be sick, so I apologize. And just take a picture of my wiener, lay on my back, and be next to famous monuments. Leaning Tower of Pisa, Eiffel Tower, Washington Monument. You probably get arrested there. Probably get arrested anywhere. You can't take your wiener out. But if you do it quick and you're laying on your back and you frame it up just right, you're a fucking idiot. That's what you are. That's all I got to say. So you know what? I'm going to take a little break right now, and we're going to pay some homage to the people that make this thing happen. And then when we come back, I am going to take some calls, because we put out a phone number that you can always find in the description of this very podcast. And it's right up there. And it says what number to call, and leave messages and tell me, hey, I got a question. I want to talk about something. And then I will call you. I will physically call you on the phone, and we'll have a conversation and record the damn thing. So anyway, that's what's going to happen. I'll be calling people when we come back. So we're back from the break, and I enjoyed my break. I was able to listen to what was going on during the break. At the same time, I did some deep knee bends in the men's room by using Purell on my kneecaps, because I had my pants off because I'm afraid to touch anything. And that's it. I had a lovely, lovely break. And now, that number that's in our description, people can call it. You guys can call that number and leave messages, say what you want to say, ask questions. I don't know anything about any of these questions except for the fact that I know the people's names. So the first person we're going to call right now is Khalil. We're going to call Khalil right now. So here it comes. This is something that's never been done on radio before, or anything like it. Or hello, is this Khalil?
Yes.
How's it going, man?
Going pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Sorry to keep you waiting. We got all kind of technology here, and I had a time in the bathroom just getting my pants off. So
Oh, no problem. This is crazy.
it is. You're talking to me. So what's your deal? How old are you, sir?
I'm 25. Just turned 25 in February.
Me too. Me too. I have a testicle that's 25.
I don't know, man. I've been watching you as a dad since I was like 6,
So I'm kind of like a dad to you.
something like that.
I appreciate that. I like that. I'm there for you. So what? You have a question for me or something, or something you want to talk about?
Yes, my question is, if you were a black guy for a day, what's the first thing you would do?
Beg for another couple thousand days. Beg for another 70 years. Because that's kind of my actual wish. Yeah, I would probably just do that, and maybe I don't know, I'd be better at sports.
Tell you what, man, it's not a bad gig. I do it myself. It's not too bad.
Well, that's pretty cool. I wish you want to do one of those things like 13 going on 30 where we exchange bodies.
I'm down.
Is there any way to do that? How could we do that? Where you'd be me and I'd be you and you'd be doing this, and then but I don't like the idea of you being with my wife because she'd like you better. So that's the end of that. But that would probably be it. I just how you holding up with all the craziness in the world?
I'm staying pretty safe, man. I'm keeping clean.
Good. Yeah, it is interesting. Like the world's cleaner than it's been, but it's got a lot of cleaning up to do, don't it?
Yeah, definitely. How about you? How you over there?
Everybody's holding on. It's a different time, and I'm the guy that looks at life as glasses half full. My glasses are half full with my eyes and my nose, which is substantial. But I'm just trying to do good by people, and try to think the best of people. And I'm trying to keep negative out of my life and trying to help people and do whatever helps people. And I guess entertaining people would be it, and trying to form a sentence would be second on my list. I'm having trouble today because, we're only human.
Yeah, you do a good job, though.
So do you. What's your job? Are you a student, or what are you doing?
Well, I'm actually making music right now.
Oh, that's cool. What kind of music do you make? What do you? Sorry. What music?
I rap and stuff.
I wish I did.
It's not too bad, man. I'll show you sometime.
I did it. I was on Sway's Sirius radio show a couple weeks ago, and I freestyled, and I had a really good time. I just kept going, I'm a Jew, an old Jew, old Jew, but it all rhymed, and I hit, I got rhythm. And
all right, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's on my thing. It's on my thing with my thing. I think it's on Twitter or something like that. Well, I wish you the best, Khalil. I hope to meet you one day.
Oh, definitely, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. I appreciate the kindness. It was real nice. Thanks, man.
I thank you for calling, man. God bless.
You too. God bless you too. All right, let's call Steve. Khalil, I don't know how you're going to outdo that. That was like, beautiful. I'm in love with this kid. I want to raise him. Okay, so now we got Steve.
Hello.
Hey, Steve, it's Bob Saget. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Bob?
I'm pretty good. I'm just wanted to check up on you. I get concerned.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad someone worries. This is making my day. Good.
I think concern and worry are two different things, because worry, like, you're kind of wasting your time a little bit because that gets us all amped up, right? And I spent a lot of money with a therapist to make it more, I call it concern, but it is what it is. So what's your deal, Steve? May I ask your age?
Yes, I'm 34 years old.
Great. That's cool. Younger than me. Most people are younger than me, but I'm young at heart. And my heart, I actually have they actually had a transplant. I have a 4-year-old's heart. So
oh, wow. All right.
Yes, I got a long way to go. So what's your deal? Thanks for calling in and having a question or something you want to talk about. What would it be?
Yeah, so I wanted to hear if you had jam sessions with John Mayer, because he's one of my favorite guitarists, and you're pretty good at guitar too.
No, not like him. I'm nowhere near. On the evolutionary scale, I'm not even upright. Um,
Oh wow! Is that an innuendo there, Bob?
not yet. But the word innuendo is an innuendo because innuendo is like Mario Brothers say, "I'm gonna put an innuendo," or a guy
wow.
from Newark. But the deal is, John Mayer is one of the sweetest and dearest friends you could possibly have on this earth, and he's got an ear that's the most amazing thing in the world, and he can play. I think he's one of the, not even arguably one of the best guitar players of all time. And I don't go above the fourth fret. I'm very frightened. I'm a 4-chord, 6-chord guy. I'm writing new songs. I do it in my stand-up, and I'm proud of that. And they're not bad. And I've jammed with them accidentally. This will be a big name drop. Do you know who Norman Lear is?
Yes.
Yeah,
love Norman Lear.
Yeah, he is a friend of mine because I name drop like it's nobody's business. He's
Right.
so freaking. He's going to be on here. We're going to have him on as a guest, and he is.
Oh, great.
Oh yeah, he's 97 years old, and he's one of the coolest people that I've ever met. And he has a cigar night for people. He had a company, still has, Concord Music, and so musicians come. Dave Koz comes in. Stamos has been in. And Mayer came in one night and kind of schooled everybody. Paul Hipp is in it. But anyway, it's you sit around, you smoke cigars if you smoke one, and you play for hours. We played till 2 a.m, and Norman just sits back and he just knows some of the songs that are newer, but we always end up with "You Are My Sunshine." But John Mayer,
Right.
I mean, man, and for him to be able to take off the Jerry Garcia part with the Dead. That's like unbelievable. How many people could have even tried to do that? And it's magnificent. It really is. I've seen it many, many times. So what happened was, it was my wedding, and I was sitting on a couch with my wife Kelly, and across from us, John Mayer, dear friend, along with my other dear friend John Stamos, the cast of Full House, and just. And family. Oh yeah, some celebrities and family. Family's like it's all a bunch of bullshit showbiz, but it's not when they're real friends, and he's a real friend. And he played a Martin guitar and then gave it to my wife as a gift. And of course she plays it. I never get to play it. And it's an amazing thing. But what he did was he sang Free Fallin' and another gorgeous song. But while he was playing, Jeff Garland, because I name dropped like a biatch, he comes over and he sits down next to Kelly and I for the photo op. And then a friend of mine, Mike Binder, yells, "Jeff, get out of their 2-shot. It's their wedding, and he's playing for them." And so Jeff is hilarious, and he makes a comedy exit. And as he's leaving, John Mayer plays the theme from Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I mean to the T. I mean every part.
Wow.
And afterward, I asked him, "You've played that before?" And he went, "No, I did." So like he could play something. He is just it's a channel. He's an instrument from the universe of music. So and he's one of the coolest, smartest, funniest people I know.
He is. And how did you decide like who you're gonna call for these? I mean, because I'm sure you had a bunch of voicemails.
Well, people, my producer Andrew pre-screened the messages, and you just sounded like a sincere, good person, and you're continuing to fake that really well.
I was gonna say, well, I'm not even an actor, Bob. I don't even act.
No, but that's the real point, is being real. Being real,
Right.
being a real person I used to say that trumps everything, but I've kind of changed my vernacular.
You're right. I was gonna say that helps everything is a good one. And if we play Scrabble, Bob, I'll give you a handicap, all right?
I am handicapped. I only can play with blanks.
Oh man. Well, that's what I'm shooting usually in bed, so there you go.
Yo, there you go. So you might want to
use that one.
I would just
You can
recommend
use that one.
change those sheets and get a plastic liner.
Yes. Words to live by.
Take care of yourself, man. I hope we meet one day. It's really nice talking to you.
Likewise. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, man.
Yep. Bye.
These are nice people. These are like, you heard messages. Andrew, you knew what you were doing. Will, we're going to call Will. I have no idea what the question is. We're going to call Will, because where there's a will, there's a phone call. Dad joke number 10,400 and stop. Oh, that's ringing, so he's got a real phone. This would be Will.
Hello?
Hey, Will, it's Bob Saget. Sorry to keep you hanging.
Oh, my God, this is amazing.
Oh, it is.
Hello.
It is for me, too. How's it going?
Dude, fantastic. This made my week.
Oh, that's nice. It's been that crappy a week. Yeah, it has, hasn't it?
It's been pretty bad.
Yeah, it's rough for a lot of us out there, you know?
Keep washing your hands, though.
Oh, that's all I do. It's all I do. I'm like a cat. You know, and it's, you know, it's all relative. Nobody gets a free ride except maybe a bus driver. But I don't know if that's even going to be happening. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but I think it's all gonna work out. I'm feeling fairly positive about it. And when things get dire, things get better. So how you doing otherwise? I know you called and you had a question, or
I did. Now, I have been a gigantic fan since forever, but one of the things
Thank
I
you.
remember the most was your amazing video, Rollin With Saget, that was done with Jamie Kennedy and Stu Stone.
Yeah, that's
When
pretty hilarious.
Can we get a new one of those?
That was a really weird thing. Jamie Kennedy, who's been a friend of mine a long time, and Stu Stone, who became a friend of mine from this, they had a 9-episode arc project called Blowing Up on MTV. And the whole goal of the arc of the 9 episodes was that they are going to make a Bob Saget rap video. That's the arc. And at that time, it was a different world. And then wait till you hear this. The budget just to shoot the music video for real was $500,000. That's where the world was at, because MTV was still pretty hot at the time. I hope it is again one day. I could use some music videos in my life, and I know they run them, and I know Sway runs them at 5:00 on Fridays, because he's my bro. But what happened was we go and shoot this thing, and Dave Dean, who directed this and a lot of Mariah Carey videos, real high-level, A-quality music video director, directed it, and it's a good song. You know, it's based on another song, obviously, another famous rap song, which I won't say because then the lawsuit will just come flying in. But it was really fun to make. We were up till 2 a.m, and George Lucas happened to be walking by and wanted to take a look at the new Sony Red. It was brand new at the time. So it was really it was a fun shoot. And Stamos, of course, made an appearance because he does that with everything. He'll be here soon.
I'm curious about how you got Lucas involved. That was really interesting.
He was just walking by. Jamie Kennedy was outside, and of course he doesn't know him. He goes, George. You know, it's like I would say Mr. Lucas probably. But it's like, hey, George, want to see this? And he goes, what are you shooting? And he goes, I'm shooting this thing for MTV. What kind of cameras are you using? Oh, these HD things. So this might have been the reason why those 3 Star Wars prequel things were shot so dark and weird by a genius. But, you know, and arguably people argue over those 3 movies. But they're making a 3rd, I believe, right now, right? With Ewan McGregor, I think they're making a 3rd.
You know, I think I'm going to skip that one.
I'm going to skip it too. I'm going to move on to the bonus round, and I'll Google later. But so, how old a man are you?
How old am I?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I'm actually 37.
I'm sorry you had to think about it. I feel bad. I'm 63. How do you like that? That's weird, isn't it?
I don't think you're any more than 47, and I think you're honestly lying to everybody, including yourself, when you say that.
I've talked to a few people just now on the phone, and you're officially my favorite. So thank you. Yeah, I drink the blood of young cattle. No, nothing I could say would work. There's nothing. You can't say anything anymore. So I want to be careful. I don't do that, and that is not a smart thing to do. And anybody that's out there even thinking that, don't do that. And we want to stay away from animals.
Got it.
Stay away from everything. Just wrap ourselves in bubble wrap and don't go near nothing. And if a fly goes up your nose, then you know the guy's pants are too close. So,
Jesus Christ.
Sorry. Thank you, Will. I really appreciate talking to you.
Man, thank you so much, Mr. Saget.
Bob me, please. I'm not George Lucas.
I'm honored. Thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you, Will. Have a good one.
You too.
That's a nice person. This is really nice. You really screen the calls for just nice people. Well, let's talk to Brian. Brian's here. It's a good name. Life of Brian, great Monty Python movie. And we kept him waiting. I think that's how this works.
This is Brian.
Hey, Brian, it's Bob Saget. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm cool, man. Sorry to keep you waiting, and thanks for the great connection for a change.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We my girlfriend Shannon and I are really big comedy fans, and
Oh,
we
that's
saw you at the Comedy Store not too long ago.
Oh yeah, I went up there. I hadn't been there in a while. I used to host the place since I was 21 until I was about 29 and 28. Finally got a job, but I was one of the hosts, and I started out in Philly when I was 17. But Comedy Store is, right now it's a little bit on, on lockdown just because of stuff that's going on.
That.
But it's thriving like it never has, and we all need comedy really bad. And
it's absolutely necessary. My girlfriend and I, we not to jump in with a promo or anything, but we started a website called Laugh Junkies because we want to support the local comedy scene and just bring laughter to people that really need it, especially in times like these.
We really need it, and that's why I defer to when you look at the late night hosts and you look at Jimmy Kimmel and Colbert and Fallon and Seth and John Oliver and these are people, and Bill Maher. No matter, I happen to know them all, so I like to. This is the name dropping episode, is what this is.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what we're going to call it, name dropping. But I mean, they are giving a gift. No matter where you roll politically, they're still giving a gift to find humor. But I did kill Tony, which is a really interesting thing they have at the Comedy Store.
Episode.
It's on. I don't know. It's on YouTube. They don't tell me nothing. Yeah. I just show up, and I had a really good time. But I didn't know it was going to be a Full House theme. So they had a guy, very funny guy, playing Joey, Dave Coulier, and everybody had the mullet on. It was like it was a good time. And Tony Hinchcliffe is really talented, and Doug Benson was on with me, and I love Doug. Mm-hmm. So I love
his pipe fell out on that episode.
That's accurate. So I believe, if I'm correct, he reassembled it from the ground. I don't think he would be doing that today. I think it would be a little more conscious. But
That's great.
So what was your question? What was your big question?
Well, my dad was legendary radio personality Charlie Tuna. He has a star in the Walk of Fame, is in the Radio Hall of Fame. But
his name?
Charlie Tuna.
I know. Is he alive?
No, he passed away, unfortunately, 4 years ago.
I'm so sorry.
But I did a show at K-Big in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, I was on it. I loved him. He was such a sweet guy.
Yeah, and actually I run his social media and everything, but I tweeted, I think I tagged you in it, but you probably have tons of tags. You're just like blinded by it. But at the Charlie Tuna Show Twitter handle, I tagged you in a post with my dad for like a Throwback Thursday or something like that. But I was just
I'm real sorry for your loss.
If you remember that?
Yeah, I remember it totally. Charlie Tuna was a legend in this city, and I really loved him. I really did. I feel real bad for your loss because I lost my dad and he was funny as hell. So
yeah,
I know what it feels like.
It's tough losing a dad.
Oh, it's tough losing anybody you love. Sometimes it's easy to lose somebody you don't love, but no. So Brian, did you have a question or something or?
Yeah, I was curious. Like how much did radio influence your career starting out?
Well, it's interesting because I listened to everything. I thought I was going to be a doctor, but when I was young, my dad was really into like Jack Benny, and a lot of shows were obviously on the radio. So I was listening to the Jack Benny show on the radio, and I heard records of it, recording LPs of different people's radio programs, and I was a huge fan because even though once he was on television, he was hilarious, but listening to how it all began is much like what's being repeated now, with all of the podcasts, with all of the the
Right.
live streaming shows and all
It's come back to personalities.
it really comes, and who can talk to people, who wants to talk to people. I mean, there's a reason you have to be interested in people. I didn't just do this because I felt like, hey, I want to jump on the train, or because the kid across the street started a podcast, so I better hop on it, But I just love this medium, and this medium is broadcasting, and it's talking to people like they're people, and that's what your dad did.
Thank you, Bob, and look forward to seeing you at the store soon.
Thank you. I will drift in and
Never
out
know.
as I'm working on new material. I got to go somewhere because a lot of traveling is not happening. So I will do what I can do because I have a new special on the cusp of my tooth.
Oh, great. Awesome.
So
Can't
take
wait.
care, man. Thanks a lot,
All right,
Brian.
you too. Thank you so much, Bob.
You too.
All right, bye.
Bye. That is interesting that his dad was named Charlie Tuna, because you don't think that was his name. It just doesn't sound like that would have been his name. And to name yourself after tuna, these days, I don't think you'd want to do that because there's a lot of connotations there that don't fly well in certain parts of the world. But I'm not saying what it is because some people are against canned tuna and capturing fish in general. See what I did? I took care of us. I made sure I didn't offend anyone. Well, I'm not necessarily doing that right now by calling it out. Let's call Alan. He'll be our final call here. He used to have a dog named Alan, a King Charles Spaniel, so this will be meaningful. Hello?
Hi, this is Alan.
Hey, Alan, this is Bob Saget. How are you, sir? Thank you for waiting. I'm sorry it took so long.
Oh, no worries, Bob. I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm having fun doing this thing, talking to nice people like yourself. I know you're nice because I found out that your voicemail, you're just a good man. That's what I can tell.
Well, I guess years of acting lessons paid off.
So what's the deal? What's going on in your life?
So for me, and the reason I called you actually was I work with the Dungeons and Dragons Adventurers League. So I work for D&D, the tabletop role-playing game, and I do a lot of charity work around the country for
Right.
Extra Life, Jasper's Game Day, which is a teen suicide prevention organization.
Well, that's
And a couple
fantastic.
other groups. Go ahead.
I was just saying that's amazing to be working with them because that's very important.
Yeah, it's shocking how fast all of this came together, and just the quality of people I get to work with every day is super, super astounding. And honestly, I was just curious if you're out in my neck of the woods, or if I happen to be traveling your way. You want to roll some dice with me?
That's a real nice thing you to say. Normally, I would say craps, but I am so bad at Dungeons and Dragons. I tried to get into it. It's just not my thing. My brain doesn't have the bandwidth.
Okay.
I mean, I love Game of Thrones. I was actually one of the first parts I ever got was on the show The Greatest American Hero, and I had a guest starring part. It was with William Catt and Connie Selleck and Robert Culp, the great late Robert Culp, and I played a young kid in a college dorm obsessed with Dungeons and Dragons, and they gave me dialogue, and I knew nothing of what I was saying, and I had to memorize it. It was like trying to memorize Shakespeare. I did not know what anything meant. Would you riff off a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons type speak to me? Can you do that? A little bit of that?
Yeah. So I do write a number of our adventures. So sure. I mean, everyone's going to start their games with inspiration. We want to make sure that you're fully equipped. You're ready to rock. You've got your spells prepared. You've got everything just ready to go. You've got beholders in front of you, owl bears hooting all over the place. It's pretty incredible stuff. Whether you've got maps or not, you know where you're going because your party's going to lead you there.
So the party takes you physically somewhere.
It depends on your kind of game.
But you're saying the game is a stationary game where you're sitting around playing the board game.
Yeah. You get a bunch of people together. You're at your table, whether it's digital or otherwise, and it's a social gathering, man. I know a lot of my games, I do maps and I've got some terrain and such, but there are a lot of dungeon masters out there that they just do it all through narrative storytelling. And
Right.
everyone is just enraptured. 2 hours, 4 hours at a shot.
I can't believe it's still so popular. I'm more of a twister kind of guy, and I like to play with my wife. And that way, wherever I try to spin where it gets us in some kind of pretzel formation.
Well, that's kind of the whole point of Twister, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And then and Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, that's just were you like a giant Game of Thrones fan?
It was a big sweeping epic for, God, I can't even think of how many hours it was. Well over 100 hours of entertainment that we got out of it.
That's how I look at. That's how my wife looks at being alone with me.
Yeah, my wife does the same thing. She's a nerd in her own right, but sometimes I can be a bit much.
Does she play Dungeons and Dragons with you?
She does, actually. She made fun of me for a long time until I found out that she was on the Xena 10th anniversary special DVD, being interviewed by the cast and Ted Raimi screaming her name, and that kind of bridged the gap for us.
That's really cool. I mean, that's a big deal. How long have you been married to her?
We've been married since 2006 and together since 2001.
I'm sorry, I can't do the math, but I'm really happy for you guys. Do you have any kids?
We do. We've got a 3-year-old.
Is it a boy or girl?
Little boy, Jameson.
Is he into Dungeons and Dragons yet?
He's got a couple of stuffed animals of a couple of the creatures, but
Right.
Currently I think he's more focused on eating my dice.
Yeah, that's what you don't want. You don't want them to, and they're made of metal, right? These things.
I've got some. I've actually got a really cool set made out of wood.
I love things
likes to
made
get
out of
old.
wood. I got wood right now just talking about it.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, damn right. Just don't get a splinter on your willy. Well, I really
Yeah, right?
appreciate you talking to me, Alan. And I wish you and your wife and your kid all the best. And Dungeons and Dragons forever. That's all I can say. It rules, you know.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for calling.
Thank you for calling too. Take it easy, man.
You too.
Bye-bye. All right, we are back, and I just gained a lot of useful information, didn't you guys? I can't wait to throw my credit card down. That was interesting. That was a fun thing, talking to Khalil and Steve and Will and Brian and Alan. All dudes, though. That's a little strange. I want some ladies to call, too. Questioning, I'm all for that. I'm not being sarcastic here, by the way. I want to be honest about that. Whoever you are, if you can speak English or broken English, I don't understand. See, I can barely speak English or broken English. I have trouble talking because I have 20 thoughts going. Anybody have this where you have like 40,000 thoughts come into your mind at the same time and then they all come out of, and that happens to me quite a bit, and it always has. And I guess that's why I have a facility for doing stand-up and chatting. And it can work to your disadvantage, or in this case, where I get to do this wonderful show that I like. You know what? I love it is what I do. This is like not even it's a no-brainer. I'm like, because I have no brain, I'd be hopping, I'd be skipping. All right, well, I seem happy. But they brought up some interesting stuff. They brought up, Dungeons and Dragons is always a subject that excludes most of the population. And but Alan was so nice. I used to have a dog named Alan. He was a King Charles Spaniel. I named him after my dentist back in the Philadelphia area. And Alan and the dentist are now not with us. Probably bad grammar, but I've never been good at it. And I loved Alan very much. He was a King Charles Spaniel. And unfortunately, one of the worst things that happens, I'm not always going to try to be here to crack jokes. I'm going to be here also for you because, Bob Saget's here for you, is to talk about the truth of life, which I've had a lot of difficulties, a lot of sadness, a lot of loss in my life. And right now we're going through a lot of fear and a big change that we've never been through. And it will pass. It will pass. I said that when I ate a sub about 2 weeks ago, and it did pass, but it changed a lot of things, and I had to call the plumber. The point is, difficulties like my dog Alan. He had prostate cancer, and I tried to keep him alive, which with chemo and radiation, and I could have bought a car, but instead I saved his life. But I didn't really. He didn't really have a great quality of life. He still got love, and he gave love because he very loved all dogs, most dogs, except the pit bull. But I understand they can be very sweet too, as they hold on to your skull. But I just I'll always miss him. My kids will always miss him. My ex-wife and I, when he passed away, we actually divided his ashes, and she has them in a vase at home, and I smoked them. I smoked them, so Alan is part of me. I got high on my little prostate cancer dog, and I loved him a lot. And there's something about a dog, or I'm not a cat person. I was allergic my whole life, and there was a kid when I lived in Norfolk, Virginia, named Merwin Kruger, and he had a cat, big, fat cat, and I went up to it. I was like 5 years old. I don't know. I was in Norfolk, Virginia, and went over to the cat, and it bit my finger really hard. And then I had another instance with a cat where I was living again still, because we moved a lot. My dad was with a food company, Pantry Pride, supermarkets, food fair. Anyway, let me put you all to sleep. But this cat, I knew I had a problem with cats when we had a back porch. It had screens on the window, and it jumped up on all fours, and it made diarrhea through the screen onto trying to hit me. But the screen fortunately stopped it because it was that very tiny little mesh, like graph paper size. And I just didn't like cats after that. I don't know what the deal was. And then I'm allergic. I could be in a house and not know that. So, well, I can't be in a house right now because I'm not allowed to go anywhere. I'm in a bubble wrap. I had a good time today. I say a lot. That's a sign of a true professional. I really did have fun. I hope this takes you away from the nuttiness a little bit. Nuttiness is when your testicles inflate to the size of volleyballs because you've been near a cat. And I don't know if any of you had that problem. It can be really difficult if you're in a romantic situation. You know what I'm saying. You need somebody with a very large mouth, like beyond, like a foot in diameter. That would be, I guess, a gorilla. And then you probably wouldn't live long. Again, I don't want to keep digressing. So I guess what I'm saying is just be safe, just take care of yourself and be good to people, and don't have random sex unless it's with yourself, and then completely just, hand sanitize. Don't put it on your private parts. It burns. It's a ring of fire. It burns, burns, burns. That's Johnny Cash, people, in case you don't know. And he's no longer with us, so he would say fuck you to this virus. He would not like it. People say you can't take antibiotics for a virus. I disagree. I say take everything. Drink motor oil. It just doesn't matter. You want to get rid of it. I do have something I have to say, and I have to read it off a piece of paper because this is how I function when I have to do promotion. But in order for this thing to do as well as I hope it does, and that you dig it, man, would be when you're done listening to this, you got to rate it, review it, and then subscribe. Rate, review, subscribe. And I'm saying rate. I don't want to get a consonant wrong. And when you do that, when you rate, review, or subscribe, only say nice things. Because if you say this sucks, who wants to listen to this? I already think that myself sometimes. Whenever people criticize me, I already know my flaws. So, and sometimes I'll get a criticism in the press, and it'll be from like a college student that saw my stuff. And what I've noticed with college writers is, and if you guys are college writers, if you write for a school newspaper or something, don't give away the person's entire performance. Like as a stand-up comedian or a person, and I do comedy songs that I've been doing for years, don't write it all. A good critiquer doesn't do that. Maybe you want to change it up and give your own style to it, but giving away someone's all their stuff, it's okay to criticize them. For God's sakes, there's freedom of speech. But when you rate, review, and subscribe to me, if you're subscribing, your rating and review is pretty decent, I would think. Unless you're subscribing because you don't like me and you want to dislike me more and you feed on that, which means try to go to therapy. Group might be good. Maybe there's a group just about me. But give only positives. I just want nice, pleasant, Rotten Tomatoes, high percentage type of scores. I'm wishing you all well. Stay well through this whole thing. Do what you can. Do the distancing. One advantage, I will say, in having a 17-foot penis is that you can keep your spatial distance and still be able to have sex with anyone, or you could fill your tires with it. I don't think anybody's ever had that. I think John Dillinger's is in formaldehyde at the Smithsonian. Don't quote me. It's a rumor I heard when I was in elementary school. That's right. That's when I started to become demented. So that's all I got to say. You know, I am here for you. I'm looking at this as a solace, I hope. If you like what I'm doing, just take care of yourselves. Take care of your family. If you got grandparents, treasure them and drop them off some food if you can, just by flying over and dropping a package. Put a heavy anvil on it so it goes through the roof, so it definitely gets to them, but make sure they're not in the rocking chair right underneath it. But just be well. We're all in this together, and I'm here for you.